So what is a covenant again? A covenant is an agreement, it's a contract, it's a marriage, it's a bond, right? It's a deal. And I want y'all to know God honors good covenants, like the one he made with Abraham, but God also honors bad covenants. Where does the Bible say God honors bad covenants? I got you. Thank you for asking. That's a great question. Come with me, turn to Joshua 14 through 15 in the NIV, because this is where it gets juicy, right? Just a quick backstory, because I definitely read this whole thing through. So in Joshua, right, you feel me? God had just given them the land. God said to kill everybody around here, right? Destroy everything around here, because they all worship idols. And if y'all stay around them, y'all gonna worship the idols too, right? But I think he made a treaty with like the Hivites to lock in with the Hivites. And the Gibeonites, these two Gibeonites, right? They heard about that, and it's like, nah, God ain't finna you ain't finna kill us. So they went and they dressed themselves up, right? Like they were poor. They got the mess up wine, the clothes is all ripped up. They made it seem like they have traveled from so long away, because God said to destroy your neighboring countries or neighboring cities. They made it seem like they traveled from so long away, and they came to Joshua, and they basically made a covenant with him. So Joshua 9:14 and 15, it says, the Israelites sampled their provision. So Joshua and his team sampled their provision, the busted up wine, sampled their clothes, but they did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them and let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified by oath. Joshua hopped into agreement with them to protect them. He hopped into a covenant with them to protect them. He literally made a contract, a bond, a deal. He hopped into a marriage to protect these people. And once they found out, wait a minute, y'all aren't the Hivites, y'all are Gibeonites, Joshua's like, I'm about to kill you. I'm about to shink, you know what I'm saying? But the elders were like, no, you cannot do that. You cannot do that, because you made a covenant with them. You swore to them without inquiring of God. You made a covenant with them. Therefore, you have to protect them. Now, because they did that, they were servants, right? Those Gibeonites were servants for I think it was forever, but they really became servants. It was the bottom of the food chain. But they could not kill them. The Israelites could not kill the Gibeonites because there was a covenant that was made, right? 400 years later, we far down the line, right? The year of David. So 2 Samuel 21 verses 1 of the King James, right? Then there was a famine in the days of David, 3 years, year after year. So I'm going to stop right there. It was 3 years, year after year. The first 2 years clearly was okay. There's no pattern here. We're just a famine for 2 years. But the third year, right, that pattern, because when things happen in a generation, right, for three generations, it's okay. Maybe there's something wrong. There was a pattern, and David realized, so he inquired of the Lord. And David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered, it is for Saul and his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. So remember, there was a treaty, there was a covenant that was made. Even though the Gibeonites were bad, God still had to honor this covenant. He still had to honor this bad covenant, bro. Regardless, it don't matter. God had to honor the bad covenant, because a covenant is a covenant, bro. And God is not it's legal rights. It's a contract. Literally, it's legal rights. It is a contract. And God had to honor it. And because Saul, right, in his bloody house, that killed some Gibeonites on the low, it's not recorded in the Bible, but this scripture is, right? Because Saul killed the Gibeonites on the low, God had to punish the land with famine and all that, right? He had to make a drought in the land. He had to. Even though he loved David, even though David was his guy, he had to, because there was a covenant that was made, and there was a covenant that was broken, and he had to reap the benefits, or I guess the curse of curse of breaking the covenant, or breaking that contract. So, and verses 3, 5, and 9, and basically David was asked the Gibeonites, okay, what I gotta do to make it right, to make this covenant right with y'all, you know what I'm saying? So the God can bless us. What do I have to do? And I just read it. So David asked the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? How shall I make atonement so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance? They answered the king, as for the men who destroyed us and plotted against us, so that we have been decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel, he handed them over to the Gibeonites, who killed them and exposed their bodies on a hill before the Lord. All 7 of them fell together. So basically, the Gibeonites wanted people from Saul's house. They wanted 7 people who were in the bloodline of Saul, and they killed them off. And as soon as they killed them, they were put to death during the first day of the harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. Right. In verse 14 it says, after that, God answered them in behalf of the land. At that moment, right, rain began to fall, and it was some woman in here. She basically was hovering up. She put stuff over the bodies so that they wouldn't be destroyed by the rain. But as soon as the covenant, right, was fixed, as soon as David repaired the breach, right, as soon as he stood in the gap and he fixed the problem and he fixed the breach, he fixed the covenant that was made, God instantly, right, suddenly there began rain. Suddenly it started to rain. So it's like, bro, we got to properly, fix the gap, bro. We got to properly go do what we got to do.